The Gathering, an exercise in promoting Irish culture to overseas visitors, or simply an attempt to empty the pockets of those of Irish descent. On this week's Fast Track, we travel to the Emerald Isle to ask if this year's gathering is a cultural highlight or a cynical marketing exercise.
When the economy collapsed, we were clutching at straws to try and identify areas where we could get extra revenue from.
Our intrepid reporter reaches Russia in her attempt to win the Peking to Paris vintage car rally. And Tommy Sandu runs through the latest pick of travel gadgets, including a suitcase which could quite possibly make you one of the coolest travellers at the airport. Welcome to Fast Track with me, Fiona Foster. I hope you'll stay with us for the next 30 minutes of travel news, advice and inspiration. Now, it's estimated that around 80 million people around the world, from Barack Obama to Muhammad Ali, can claim some kind of Irish heritage. Back in 1963, President John F. Kennedy received a film star's welcome when he paid a visit to his ancestral hometown in Ireland. And now, 50 years on, the country is once again hoping to attract those of Irish descent as part of a tourism campaign. So is The Gathering simply an open-armed invitation to embrace all things Irish, or more of a clever marketing campaign to squeeze spare euros out of those hoping to trace their roots? Alan Maloney reports now from Dublin.
The flags are on the streets, and you can't miss the signs around the city. They mark the Year of the Gathering Ireland, a tourism campaign aimed at getting people from all around the world to visit the country.
We're encouraging everyone with Irish ancestry to come home to Ireland. It's going to be a blast. I mean you, Shaquille O'Neal. Get back here.
The project is hoping to tap into the almost 80 million people around the world who claim Irish ancestry and lure over 300,000 visitors to the country.
Ireland has long traded on its image of easygoing charm and famous culture in order to attract people into the country. But 2013 has seen it go truly global, with over 4,000 gathering events being put on.
Now we clap everybody in together.
Events in this year-long celebration of Ireland include a red-headed convention, a river dance world record, and a traditional Irish dance session, or Céilí.
I think the Céilí as such is a very popular idiom in Irish culture. I mean, nearly everybody in Ireland, right, has danced Irish music at one point or the other, young and old, and enjoying themselves.
The gathering was launched here last year, Croke Park, home to Ireland's largest stadium, where Irish football and hurling games are played. But it's also keen to be seen as a tourist attraction in its own right. The museum here attracts over 90,000 visitors each year, and a recent addition has been the Skyline, where you can walk along the roof of the stadium.
And as you can see, it's not a bad view, although, of course, probably not best to come up here if you have a fear of heights.
It's an iconic venue and one of the few success stories in an economy that has endured several years of economic hardship and had to be bailed out to the tune of over $100 billion.
The financial crisis of 2008 hit Ireland hard, bringing an end to its famous Celtic Tiger economy. The country is back in recession, and it's looking to tourism to provide a major plank in its economic recovery.
But for an initiative seeking to bring people together, the gathering faced some early negative reaction. It was labelled the grabbing by airline boss Michael O'Leary and criticised by actor Gabriel Byrne.
I've spoken to people about the gathering, and I'm afraid I don't share the same optimism that people have about it. Most people don't give a about the diaspora over there except to shake them down for a few quid, because people are sick to death of being asked to help out in what they regard as a scam.
Those behind the gathering believe that the first 6 months of the year have shown the project to be a success.
Well, I think those comments have been proved to be wrong. I think some of the comments from Gabriel Byrne were that the diaspora, the people in America, wouldn't respond to the gathering. The numbers are showing that that's quite wrong. They're responding in significant numbers to the gathering. In terms of the criticism from Michael O'Leary, I think Michael O'Leary will be happy at the end of the year when he counts up the extra seats that the gathering delivered for Ryanair.
Figures show the number of tourists has gone up by over 4% on the same time last year. The country expects to welcome over 1 million American tourists this year, spending about $1 billion US. It's been helped by a range of famous faces to the country, pictures that are beamed around the world and can prove priceless in terms of branding and publicity.
Of course it's a publicity stunt, but you do need to engage in publicity stunts to raise your profile. And I think, Ireland has a population of just over 4.5 million people. And in terms of the international profile we have as a country, we punch way above our weight. Particularly in the United States, where there's a very positive predisposition towards Ireland. I think we do a lot of things right, and I think those sorts of publicity stunts, getting somebody like Tom Cruise to come to Ireland, it's important.
But not everyone is content with the image of Ireland that is being projected.
They haven't moved away from the sort of leprechaun image, really, and there is a bit of Gombianism about many of the initiatives, which, from my perspective, I don't think is necessary. We don't need to turn ourselves into sort of the Guinness drinking, fun-loving sort of leprechaun types that they sometimes focus in on, and I do think there is an overemphasis on that.
Bringing in over $7 billion to the Irish economy last year, tourism remains one of the few industries that can be promoted to a ready-made audience around the world.
It's more than a bit about the money. I think it's almost exclusively about the money. I can assure you there would have been no suggestion that we would have a gathering back in 2005. But when the economy collapsed, we were clutching at straws to try and identify areas where we could get extra revenue from. And that's what gave birth to the gathering.
The gathering is about emphasising the culture, the warmth, the welcome of Ireland. And obviously the net result will be economic, but the whole vehicle through which that's expressed is a cultural vehicle. And I see the lion's share of the 4,000 and more events that are organised for the gathering are culture. They're music, sport, theatre, arts, the full panoply of cultural activities. And I think that is that I suppose is the USP of Ireland when it comes to its tourism product.
Just over 5 months remain of the gathering. Its success will be defined not just by numbers and revenue, but whether it can help Ireland get past its economic woes and encourage people around the world to buy into its tourism product.
Alan Maloney reporting from Ireland. And do let us know what you think of that campaign, especially if you're of Irish descent. Does it make you more likely to visit the old country, or do you see it as more of a clever marketing ploy to persuade you to part with your hard-earned cash? Email us at our usual address, fasttrack@bbc.com. Now, let's have a look at what else has been making news in travel around the world this week.
Investigators in Spain are preparing to examine the black box data recorder from the train which crashed on Wednesday, killing at least 80 people. The driver of the Intercity, which derailed in the city of Santiago de Compostela, is also due to be questioned. Celebrations due to take place this week to mark the annual festival of St. James, which brings thousands of Roman Catholic pilgrims to the town, have been cancelled.
Information.
These passengers on board a hot air balloon had a very lucky escape after it crashed into a lake in the Netherlands. The whole thing was captured by an amateur camera operator as the pilot attempts a delicate manoeuvre but doesn't quite pull it off. Of the 11 people on board, only 2 needed hospital treatment. Montenegro's first ever Pride event ended in trouble this week after several hundred people shouted homophobic chants, attacked gay activists and clashed with police in a bid to disrupt it in the mainly conservative country. Many locals and tourists fled the scene as angry assailants threw rocks, bottles and glasses. Elsewhere in the region, gay Pride events were held this year without problems in the EU's newest member, Croatia, and one is planned in Serbia this autumn. And finally, scared of sharks? Well, scientists and designers say they have created a wetsuit which can confuse a shark's vision by rendering a wearer invisible. One of the designs, a stripy high-contrast black and white, repels, so the shark apparently isn't interested in having you for dinner. The other is a blue and grey wave pattern, which resembles the natural patterns of the ocean.
In all my time in the wetsuit business over 20 years, the most common thing we get asked is what colour do sharks like? I don't want to look like a seal. Well, now we know the answer to that question, and that's pretty exciting.
Last year, there were more than 20 unprovoked shark attacks in Australian waters. 6 of them were fatal.
Well, now you're up to date, we're going to take a short break. But coming up, Tommy Sandu will be here, showing off the very latest travel gadgets and accessories. So if you're always misplacing your mobile phone while you're on holiday, do stay tuned, because he might have the perfect solution for you. And we catch up with Michelle Yanachan on the latest stage of the Peking to Paris Vintage Car Rally. This week, she's reached Russia. But will her 70-year-old jalopy survive the journey across the steppes? Stay with us and find out.
Today, I'm all about staying connected. Nobody likes arriving at a nice hotel only to find that the Wi-Fi charges are extortionate. And yeah, you can use your mobile phone, but those international data roaming charges aren't exactly cheap either. One solution could be this.
The Global Gig creates your own personal Wi-Fi hotspot using 2 or 3G phone signals. It gives you internet access in 36 countries. Once it finds a local phone signal, it transmits a mini Wi-Fi network that your devices can then join.
If you're the kind of person who travels back and forth to the same country again and again, then it might be cheaper just to buy a local SIM, which could then also get you onto the 4G networks, which the Global Gig doesn't do. And we also found that when you rig up multiple devices to it, the internet speed can slow down, but that's to be expected. However, if you're the kind of person that truly wants to stay in control of your internet charges when you are abroad and know exactly what you're paying at any given time, then the Global Gig might be an ideal solution. I love my music. In fact, I love it so much that I even like to go to sleep to it. So I came up with a great idea. Imagine if you put a speaker inside a pillow. Great idea, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna patent that one. It's gonna make me millions. I tell you, I'm in the money. Oh man, I'm always one step behind.
Sound Asleep is a range of pillows with built-in speakers. You simply connect your audio device to it using a headphone jack. It's not just good for bed, it's also handy to use on planes, trains or in cars.
So this is ideal for the solo traveller, because if I was with anybody else, then they would totally be disturbed by whatever was playing out of the pillow. But if you are in a room and you're on your own and maybe you want to relax out to your favourite tunes, some meditation music, or listen to a presentation ahead of tomorrow's big meeting, or like me, use it to brush up on your language skills. Like last night, I was listening to a Learn Hindi CD. So check this out. Hamara naam Tommy hai aur aap fast track dekh rahe ho. Pretty good, huh? The pillow made me clever. The Zom wireless leash can prevent these heart-stopping moments because once the phone and the Zom are more than 30 feet away from each other, both will sound an alarm. You could, for example, attach a Zom to your keyring. You pair the Zom to your smartphone using the app, it charges with a micro USB, and its battery life is up to 3 days. Phew, the Zom came to the rescue, which is great because for $50, I've got my own little mobile gadget tracker. However, in order for this to work, I've got to leave the Bluetooth on my gadget the whole time, which can drain the battery. And I have to always remember to take this with me. And to be honest, if I have to remember to carry this around, surely I can just remember to take my phone or my tablet with me when I leave. We've done suitcases with speakers. We've done suitcases with trackers. We've even had them with built-in chairs. But not one that's also a scooter. The suitcase is small enough to be stowed as hand luggage. It has a hard shell exterior and weighs 5 kilograms. The scooter part folds out from the back and the suitcase is good to go. This is completely unnecessary. It's not cheap either, but for the sheer amount of attention you get from people when you're on it, I love it. I'm so cool. Too cool. Oh, curb. Not cool.
Thanks, Tommy. And if you've discovered any travel gadgets you simply cannot live without, then let Tommy put them to the test. Email us about them at our usual address, fasttrack@bbc.com. Now, if you've been watching the programme over the past couple of weeks, you'll know we've been following our intrepid Fast Track reporter Michelle Yana-Chan as she takes part in a vintage car rally from Peking to Paris. This week, she's in Russia, but can she and her 1940s Ford Coupe complete the journey across this vast country and still be in with a chance of reaching the finish line in Paris, France? Well, you know what they say, when the going gets tough.
When we left the Great Wall of China, there were nearly 8,000 daunting miles ahead and 33 days of hard driving. No mean feat for our 1940 Ford Coupe we'd named Shiner. Off-road across Mongolia had been especially grueling and mechanical problems lost us valuable time. Placed fourth, my co-driver Mike Reeves and I crossed the border and started the first of the timed stages in Russia. Teams were looking forward to the full day in the Siberian capital, Novosibirsk, where we planned a plethora of repairs. Our 73-year-old car was needing lots of attention. I've got this long list of items that we have to try and sort out before the end of the day, which include checking the oil pressure situation and need to bleed the brakes because we've actually got no brakes now.
So the engine is from
check
another
diff
car.
oil level,
From
tighten the handbrake, tightening the dipstick to greasing all the suspension, replacing all the sparks, and straightening the steering wheel. That's it. We drove on west, through Siberia towards the Urals, enjoying the unfettered enthusiasm of locals. And it was this kind of unwavering local support which helped keep us going, even at our lowest ebb. Well, we've had the toughest day of the rally so far, but this has been for a very different reason. One of the competitors on the rally, Emma, was killed today in a car crash. It wasn't during a rally event exactly, it was between two timed sections, and we were travelling on public roads, and there was an accident with a local vehicle. 2 people in that vehicle were killed.
You know, every day hundreds of people are killed on the roads, and you just don't really expect in this rather joyful occasion that something like this is gonna happen.
There were mixed feelings about whether to continue. Competitive stages were cancelled and spirits were low. But we'd all known the risks associated with driving old cars thousands of miles at high speed, and we pushed on, hoping at least to honour the adventurous spirit of Emma. We fell back into the cycle of alternately pushing the car to its limits and doing repairs. Again and again. Day in, day out, and longing for a so-called rest day. It wasn't really a rest day at all, as you might be able to tell. What did we do today? We came down and fixed a flat. Then we changed the shocks for some new ones that we'd gotten, and we hammered out a wheel arch that's been banging against the wheel for a couple of weeks, and we've got to change the fan belt yet. We've got to do some welding, which we've noticed on the chassis. We felt as prepared as we could have been for our last time stage in Russia at Belgorod racetrack, just across the border from Ukraine. We came here to catch up and fight back. There were 3 circuits on tarmac behind me. And then we headed straight to a dirt track, which was pretty easy to navigate, and it was pretty smoothly graded as well. But, wow, my heart is hammering. After that hefty shot of adrenaline, we pointed our nose to Ukraine and the last leg across Europe to the checkered flag in the French capital.
Michelle Yanachan, tired but determined. And don't forget to tune in next week to see if she makes it to that all-important finishing line in Paris. Also next week, we're in Bhutan, which prides itself on being one of the happiest countries on earth.
In terms of tourism, it is good for the country because it brings a certain amount of revenue for the country. So in that sense, in development sense, I think it's very, very good. But I fear that having too much tourism might destroy that our traditional culture, you know, because what happens is if you get more tourists, then we sort of create this culture for the tourists, you know what I mean? So like I think it becomes fabricated, becomes false.
Carmen Roberts next week in Bhutan, which looks like an absolutely stunning country to visit. Until then, don't forget you can keep up with all our travels on our website at bbc.com/fasttrack, and you can follow the links there to our Facebook, Twitter and Pinterest feeds. But for now, from me, Fiona Foster, and the rest of the Fast Track team here at beautiful Osterley House in London, thanks for watching and goodbye.